Alright everybody, so today is going to be a little bit different. This is not a rant video, although I'm sure with future information to be released from Funcom, the devs over there, that the information we will receive on 3.0 will probably lead to a series of rant videos because I already know, it's just a gut feeling in me, you know? Before I get into the video, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to all of you who have been supporting my channel recently, and while I am like the size of an ant to a gigantic world on YouTube, you know, it feels nice to see, these regulars and you guys posting in the comments and liking the video and taking the time to watch them. And, I can see these things through the analytics, my watch time going up. I see a lot of people that watch my content but don't subscribe, but I want to talk about the people that actually do subscribe and support my content. I appreciate you. I can't say it enough. It means a lot to me, and I'm glad you stick with me, and I hope I can continue to release content and share opinions and views and whatnot, whatever I do, and I hope I can, entertain you to a degree sometimes as well. So I just wanted to say thank you. But today what I wanted to discuss is, speculations for the update 3.0 that's supposed to come out. And we have not a lot of information on this. There's a lot of speculation. And I'm going to touch on some of the speculation, but I'm sure a lot of you already know about that. And I want to touch on more things that I'd like to see from a PvP side of things that I probably won't get, and we won't get any of our fixes either. But please do go into the comments and share things with me that you would want, and I would prefer comments that are leaning more towards a PvP side of things. There are plenty of discussions for what the PvE community wants, but there's not a lot of voices out there for the PvP community. And while my channel is basically a fart in the wind to Funcom, and I highly doubt even if I was a bigger content creator and I released these opinions and views that the community had for the PvP scene, I doubt they would pay attention because Funcom has always done what Funcom wants to do. But anyways, we're going to get in this video. Okay, so first things we're going to jump into is some speculations that have been floating around, and the first one we're going to start with is Sorcery. I can already, if any of you just take some time to think about how Sorcery and PvP on Conan would work. This is not an MMO, and whereas MMOs try to balance different play styles so they can all work in an environment, that would be an extreme amount of work for the devs over there to do for Conan, and I don't think it would properly be balanced for a PvP scenario. I can already see the issues that would come with this. Now, if Sorcery was to get added, something they should probably consider doing, which maybe they are, but I doubt they will, is PvP and PvE should be their own things. Things that happen over on PvP should be different than things that happen over on PvE. It should be almost two different game modes, and they should have different mechanics that work in their favor for that specific game mode. Are we going to get something that in-depth from them? I doubt it. And if Sorcery gets implemented and it is on a PvP side, I worry that that could just cause more issues with the current PvP. A big thing other people have been talking about is crossplay, and even my girlfriend considers the fact that crossplay could be one of the biggest things because of all the server closures. It would make sense to close all of these servers, so then when you enable crossplay, the servers that you do have show more pop and it looks good for your game, and they have more people in congested areas, just making for a better play experience. I could see crossplay being what they could be working on because it would technically breathe some new life into the game. Now, there are bugs on console as well as Xbox. I'm not sure how these would work properly, and I feel like it could still cause some major issues, especially if they don't fix hacking over on the PC side of things. Are these hackers going to be able to connect into crossplay servers? Are there going to be dedicated crossplay servers? Are all servers going to end up being crossplay? I'm sure they would have set servers that are crossplay only, and then other servers that are dedicated to that platform. I don't know. Another thing, of course, we see a lot of, because it's a big PvE community, is character customizations. I don't really have much to touch on this. I really don't care about character customization at all. If you do, that's great. But to me, that seems like a small thing to be added in, not something major. Uh, Obelisk on Sipta is something people have talked about since, well, Sipta came out, and that traversing the land can be quite tedious. I honestly don't see them adding Obelisk to Sipta, just because Sipta is a pay-to-win map. If you just look at what Sipta is and what you get out of Sipta, it's literally pay-to-win content for you, and well, there's nothing more on that. Now, something I've seen people discuss is they'd love to have their own personal obelisk. No, I don't want that. As cool as it could be in certain building locations on exiled lands where you're not close to an obelisk, the things that you could do with something like that. Well, actually, I think there would be an issue if you could have your own obelisk, because say a game like Ark where you can have teleporters, you're just going to end up teleporting loot around to avoid that raid window on a PvP side of things. On PvE, sure, which is why when I said with the sorcery thing, if there were different mechanics for both sides, PvP and PvE, that were balanced properly for each game mode, additions like this may work. A big one too is map expansions for exiled lands and also possibly more dungeons. If you look at the map of exiled lands, you can clearly see there is room for expansion. There has been for quite some time. The map room is a circle, and even on that circle, it shows the border that you cannot go out of, but it shows that there could be room for expansion. Would they do this? I could consider it, but I don't think it's going to be like a high possibility that they're going to expand the exiled lands, although they could, and it would be nice to have, more areas unlocked and places to go and places to build and whatnot. Of course, on the PvP side of things and even the PvE, new building health system, possibly even dynamic building damage, something similar on some servers that you'll play other survival games on. You cannot be raided if you are offline. Now, that would have to be tweaked, because if you're getting raided and you just decide, okay, let's log off, you would have to have a timer, I'd say at least an hour, if not more, before that no damage kicks in, because then you're just going to get people that just log offline and you can never raid them. It's just, I don't think, even as my girlfriend says, personally, I don't think it would work on Conan, and neither does she. I just think it would just cause more issues. Depending on your base, the size, the location, some raids are quick, some raids are longer. If you can defend long enough, you'd still take a risk. If it was an hour, they could get pretty far, but then if you had vaults and stuff and they couldn't blow them up and everything, wasn't able to be damaged, this also would cause issues of people building in certain locations with structures and then never coming back online, or say coming back online to just refresh the decay timer on it. So you could see the issues that would come with that, but of course the building health system and all that could be reworked. More animals and thralls, I think that would be great, but of course I think that would come into balancing issues. I think that's something I'll talk about in part 2 of this video. More bosses, more armors, stuff like that. Generic stuff. If you guys haven't read any of these posts and stuff of people's opinions that they're already sharing about things they would like to see, you can just head on over to the forums. There's tons of it. I'm not going to get into all the possibilities, but what I am going to get into is things that I would like to see, and I'm looking at this from a PvP side of things, since that's where I play. So this video is not aimed towards PvE. There's plenty of content out there like that. But one of the biggest things I would like to see is thralls and pets rework. I like pets in the game, but pets to me personally just are not as useful as they could be. Take graders, for example. a thrall is still going to outdo a greater. Now, I know there are some pets that, can thrive in these situations. Now, while I know there are some pets that are strong and have their advantages, they just, the biggest thing that people hated was cats being added to the game because they were constantly knocking people down. But if you have a thrall, that thrall can usually take care of the cat, or you can apply enough poison. I've never really had a difficult time with pets in general being an issue because everyone just runs around with thralls. So I do feel like pets could be reworked, graders should be reworked, health systems should be reworked, but of course thralls need to be balanced properly and according to their locations and difficulty to obtain and level up. I'm sure if you've watched my video on Tamos, the Thrall Brawl, where I introduce some of my opinions and thoughts on it, I do believe Tamos needs a nerf, or if not a nerf, he needs to be balanced properly. He is extremely easy to get. He is extremely easy to level up compared to other Thralls that are more difficult. This is not a fair thing. Yes, it is all accessible, but for someone end game that, ends up collecting multiple thralls, you expect thralls to do different things, which is why I think a proper rework could work well with thralls. Maybe give thralls set perks, passive perks on top of the perks you can get, balance their health systems, balance the damage systems. The game itself is not an MMO, which is why I said with Sorcery, I understand there's lore and stuff for it, but personally, this is an open world survival game. So I don't think certain things like that are going to work because most of us use thralls to carry us through dungeons to fight bosses. If you want to take the time to try to kill your boss, it's going to take a lot of time. This isn't Dark Souls, this isn't Elden Ring where I'm trying to beat, the arena champion and be like, I did it by myself. I don't care, okay? The benefits of killing these things is scrap so I can make armor on a PvP side of things. That's why I said for PvP and PvE, things should be balanced accordingly so the game plays differently. A PvP should be, a bit more of a fast-paced environment, and farming could even probably use a rework. But I honestly believe thralls need to have a complete rework on how they behave, how they work. I'm sure you guys agree. I'm sure you guys have opinions on this as well. Yeah, sure, it's nice to be able to go get Tamos, a very strong thrall that will carry you all the way through the game, but at the end of the day, it's kind of boring that is literally the best thrall you can get, and it's the easiest, and none of us will disagree with that. You go up to the volcano, and it's a more difficult environment to get thralls, but the payout isn't as good because they take forever to level. And it's like, well, I can get a Tamos that is generally going to get good health and gets decent damage. It's like, well, what's the point of these other thralls if this thrall is going to trump all the others? Thralls definitely need to be reworked or touched on, at least, in my opinion. And that would be great to see in the update. I'd also like to add in about the pets. Why can't I ride a camel? That's all I have to say about that. Attribute systems reworked with the possibility of passive perks. I touched on passive perks for maybe your thralls, depending on where the thrall is, what faction that thrall is a part of. Maybe there's perks and benefits to that thrall that can be better against other players or other thralls or other bosses, stuff like that. If we look at the attribute system as it is now in the perk system, I feel like this is quite outdated, and this should be something that is touched on. The biggest thing is the current metas in the game. They're all the same. You have a meta for this, you have a meta for that, and that's usually what people are going to run on a PvP side of things, which leaves it, there's not many options. There's not. People who are better at the game might mess around with different builds, and those builds may thrive on certain individuals. But a skilled player versus a skilled player, they're probably going to be using the same as each other. And that's just the way it is in the game right now. So maybe some passive perks could help that everyone gains by leveling, especially on official. Leveling's not hard, but it is a grind to a degree. And I think maybe reward players for that grind. And then everyone has these perks as well. Perks like that could be anywhere from, and I know this is a big one, survival. You know, everyone wants 3 survival when you're farming, but you got to take a best shield to get it. You got to take a best shield to go back to your PvP build. I really don't like that. Like, I, I think the worst thing to me is like, okay, I'm in a farm build, which means I'm probably not going to be able to PvP much. If someone runs up to me in a full PvP kit with buffs and they have the proper attributes, and I'm over here in a farm build, I'll do my best, but they should win 9 out of 10 times unless luck is on my side or they're just not that skilled. But a skilled player on Conan, on the PvP side of things, he'll make quick work of a farming build. And I think that's an issue. I think, though, that's why I think attributes should be reworked properly. You know, I'm not saying everyone should have full encumbrance, but I think maybe they should redo the player's inventory with encumbrance in mind, and, you know, maybe guarantee, you know, a certain amount of slots. And once those slots are done, you can't carry anymore. Something similar to Rust. I mean, you could, I guess, give everyone max encumbrance, but then that just causes issues. That's why I think the whole thing needs a rework, because the more encumbrance you have, the better your stamina regen is, depending on the weight that your character is currently carrying. You know, all these things, they're old, they're outdated. I feel like it could use a nice balance, you know, a nice rework and a nice balance to help keep things fresh. You know, I don't know, bring some longevity to the PvP side of things, because it's sad, because if you run around in any other gear but the current metas, you're just going to be outclassed, and that's a shame. Which is something else I wanted to get into while we're already on the topic, is with armor balance. I think armor needs to be balanced. There's so much DLC that comes with so many different armors. And when SIPTA came out, there's even more armor at our disposal, but you're going to see the same kind of outfits worn because they just work the best, and that is the meta. You're going to release this DLC that has new armor every time, and we can't really use it. Some of it can be useful for our thralls, but you're not going to see someone running around in heavy Pictish or heavy Yamatai. And if you do, you're going to stand the advantage in light armor. Not always, but we all know that the PvP side of things leans towards light armor. That's a frustrating thing. And while I understand for the devs, and I have a little pity on them, it could be extremely difficult to balance this properly, because if you didn't balance it right, then heavy armor is the meta because it's the strongest. If you don't balance light armor properly, you know, it's going to always outclass it. And like medium gear is, you know, basically, in my opinion, useless. It's just useless. I'm not going to wear it. I'm going to wear light, and that's all I'm going to wear. I never wear heavy because I'm going to have that reduction in stamina regen, which is in turn going to hurt me. So if I'm going against someone in light armor, they're going to have the advantage because of stamina if they play smart. And I mean, let's be honest, they have a pike. What am I going to do? Pull out a shield? Okay. The shield's only going to help so much, and then they're going to have probably an axe. So things need to be rebalanced, I think. Armor, and this goes into weapons as well. I think weapons need an overhaul as well, and how they work, and to bring a bit of something to the game that it's been lacking. The biggest thing when Conan was released that I was excited for was the combat system that was discussed, and then you actually play the game. And this game has been out since 2017, so it has had years to, you know, work this out. And it really hasn't. The meta is poison weapons, pikes, axes, hammers. That's all you're really gonna see. You'll see people pull out katanas every so often. On the official side, of course, you're going to run into daggers because of auto lock. I think auto lock should be completely disabled. I don't think auto lock should be a feature in the game, and that should be a PvE feature. It makes more sense for PvE, especially when, you know, you literally can't PvP each other and you're literally using it on the environment. That's a mechanic I think needs to just be removed from PvP servers, because it's ridiculous what you could do with a pair of daggers. And as long as you have some good daggers in the right attribute points, you could mess someone up with daggers because of auto lock. Auto lock is a joke on the PvP side of things. It should have never been implemented. It should have never been added into PvP. It's just ridiculous. If you like auto lock and that's how you kill most of the people, there's not a lot of skill to that at the end of the day. And using daggers with auto lock, don't even get me started. Another thing I want to touch on, and to me is the biggest thing in my personal opinion, all these other things are just pipe dreams, but the biggest thing that I think needs to happen is a building and raiding balance. That needs to be done. It's needed to be done for years. Oh boy, they rework building health. I don't care if you want to add tier 4 and, then you'd have to do a lot of work with all your DLC adding in a T4. Give us T4, give us something stronger. Rework T3, rework doors, rework the building mechanics, and rework splash damage. Work on these things to actually make it so you keep a population. Grind in Conan, which is something I discussed in this video, I kind of said it could be reworked as well, and this is where I'm gonna get into that. I do agree, because Conan's not a fast-paced game when it comes into farming. You can get things done quickly, but to actually build a fortified base, if you're newer to the game and you're into PvP, you're going to probably end up getting raided constantly, because it's going to take time for you to gain experience. And with how wonky the PvP is in the game, and there's people out there with 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 hours, and you're over here with 2 hours in the game, you're not going to thrive in this game at all. You're not going to be able to build a base that is strong enough to defend. And if you're not skilled enough with PvP, you're not going to be able to defend your base anyway. So no matter how big you were to build it, that's the difference between a game like Rust, where you have guns, so you can actually defend your base even with, weaker guns, versus, say, the glorious AK everyone loves. Arc, you have turrets, you have dinos to help you. On Conan, on official, you can get Thralls. Thralls take forever. Thralls should not take that long, which is something you could put into point 1 about a Thrall rework. Thralls should not take that long. They're ridiculous. It's literally time consuming. Who wants to wait a day for a Thrall? I don't. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't know why you would want to do that to people, because if you're lucky, you'll get that Thrall. You probably won't, because raid window's going to open, and what are you're going to have a little sandstone wheelbase? Well, they see something on the wheel, they'll probably leave it. But if they see that the wheel stopped and they come back, they'll blow into it and take your hard work. And that's frustrating, because that takes time. Thralls shouldn't take that long. Thralls do die relatively quickly. And with the current metas in the game, with poison, there's so many things in this game that could actually make the PvP side of things more fun, and actually bring maybe some more longevity to the game, so it actually lasts a few more years, if not longer. I guess you could go back to the armor rework I was talking about. Maybe make some heavy armors completely invulnerable to poison. It's heavy armor, especially heavy armor that is covering your body. You could balance in a rework to where it shows, a diagram or something that says, the percentage of how much of your body is covered in armor, what type of armor, plate armor, leather armor, these things. If you're covered in plate armor, you're invulnerable to poisons. If you're in leather, you are more susceptible to poisons, but not as much. And then if you're in light gear that shows a lot of skin, then you should take more poison damage from that. You should also take more damage as well. There are plenty of ways this could be reworked, but it would have to take quite a bit of TLC to actually get it somewhere where it's going to be viable for the community. There's a lot of cool looking armors, and it's sad because if I see someone in that cool looking heavy armor and I'm over here in light armor, I kind of laugh a little bit, because I know I can probably go destroy them, because that's just usually how it is. A lot of times you'll see people on horses in heavy armor just because they want that added armor for what they're doing. Makes sense. But in a PvP scenario, 4 guys in light armor versus 4 guys in heavy armor, and if they're both skilled players, it could be a fun battle, but the light armor should win. It should win 9 out of 10 times. It's just how it is. It's just the meta of the game right now. And when I talked about pay to win with Sipta, don't get me started on the fact that you have the aspect of the demon, which gives you so much armor value and it's considered light, and it bumps you up to the point where you're almost in the same class as some heavy armor. That's ridiculous, and that is why I call SIPTA pay to win. I've considered doing a video on SIPTA. I know SIPTA's been out for a while, and I know everyone has opinions on it, but personally, to me, SIPTA was that pay to win DLC, because what else would you call it? It's not an amazing map. I like the map, but there's nothing special to it, in my opinion. It just gave us a lot of broken weapons and items to use to our advantage, because if you play on an unofficial server that only has exiled lands, because there's no way to go back and forth between the maps unless you have a mod. So if you're just playing on exiled lands, the poison weapons that you get, you know, they're good. They're strong, but then you can go over to SIPTA and you get a whole kit of just great weapons when crafted by a blacksmith with the damage, the penetration, and then they do poison infinitely. You don't even have to waste fragments on them. You can just craft them. And they're really cheap to craft if you're running vaults and getting scrap out there. It's ridiculous. It's extreme pay to win right there. I think that's why a lot of people boycott SIPTA, is it's like, that's what it is, you know? And, you know, that's fine if you want to release DLC where people, you know, they can buy some DLC, get some new building pieces, get some new armor, but then half the time that armor is not viable in a PvP scenario. On a PvE side of things, sure, you can wear whatever armor you want, it doesn't matter, but on PvP, just goes back into why I think attributes need a rework. That's what this armor does. We wear the certain armor to get boost into our attribute points. We take buffs to get added attribute points so we can get these builds. And they're always the same builds. So that's about all I have to say. It's just me kind of rambling. I'm not necessarily ranting. I'm sure, like I said in the beginning of the video, I'll probably end up making a rant video depending on what information we get from this and when the update comes out, what comes of it. But right now, these are just things I want to touch on, and to just go over them again, I think Thralls could be reworked, so as pets, especially graders. Seriously, why can't I ride a camel? Attribute system reworked, and passive perks somehow to be implemented that, you know, I think could possibly help and, you know, revitalize the spirit of the game a bit. Building and rating balances would be nice, and of course weapon, armor, and all of that overhaul, rebalanced, reworked, whatever you want to say to it. You know, give some more range to the game and allow us to actually not feel like it's so stale, you know? It's like, okay, today I'm going to go an archer build. Okay, today I'm going to go in a PvP build. There's not many variations of these builds with the attribute system and how they are. And I think that's a shame, to be honest. You know, this would be more of a PvE thing, but if you want to go with this route of like adding sorcery like your game is part MMO, why not make us level up attributes? If I want to level up my strength, make me do things to level up my strength. If I want to level up my encumbrance, you know, give me things to do that. My survival, you know, maybe make it something like that. So while I'm farming and grinding, I can do other things and I can get the same kind of perks and attributes that other people have without having to worry. Oh no, I'm in a farm build. Hold on. Oh, you want a PvP? Okay, wait, can I please go back to my base and take a bestial potion and put my attributes? Oh shoot, I forgot my buffs. Let me get my buffs real quick. Okay, I got my armor. All right, let's go. Like, do you see how that slows the game down right there, Funcom? Do you see how ridiculous that is? Like, oh my. If you want to keep it on a PvE side of things, go for it, Funcom, but it would be great. It would be fantastic to rework how, you know, we gain attribute points and what they go into in perks and stuff. I would be all for passively just gaining perks so everyone is on an equal playing field, which then opens up the door for a lot of different things that could be done. If I'm spec'd into strength, I can go in as a brute. If they're shooting arrows, well, I can pull out my bow and I'm in archery too. There's a lot of things this could, a lot of doors this could open for PvP and actually make it fun, make it feel more fair and balanced so no one can be like, oh, you're in an archer build and I was in a PvP build and all you did was roll away, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I'm going to go back to base and take a bestial and I'm going to come back with a, strength build. I'm going to come back with this. It's like, oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. It slows the game down. Okay, I'm done. I think it's turning into a rant now. I don't want to do that. But these are just things that I think, in my personal opinion, what I would like to see actually touched on for the PvP side of things. And a lot of these things, it's a lot of work, but I don't think it's a major update. I think these are things that could be slowly implemented into the game and tested on a test live server. But I would love to hear you guys' opinions, what you guys think, what you guys would like to see changed. And please keep it PvP related if you are going to post a comment. No offense. It's fine if you play PvE. I just don't care about the PvE side of the update. I want to see PvP thrive again. I want to see it be a fun experience for us again who are out there and enjoy it. But that's it to wrap up some of my thoughts right now. The video is carrying on a bit longer than I wanted it to, but if you guys aren't subscribed and you do like the content, you would like to hear more of my opinions, more videos, Conan related, whatnot, whatever, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Like I said, share in the comments what you would like to see on the PvP side of things for the game. If you agree or disagree with anything I have said here, and I'll see you guys in the next one.